The doctor clamps the patient's nose shut so he can't breathe. The moment the man opens his mouth for air, a tube is forced inside. Through that tube, the doctor is about to send a swarm of electric eels straight into his stomach.
In our aquifer, creatures.
As soon as the tube is opened, the eels begin sliding into his mouth. The man starts thrashing in pain, struggling desperately. But the doctor doesn't react at all. This wasn't just a hospital. It was a place where something far more sinister was happening under the guise of treatment. Our story begins with a mysterious hospital where patients are healed simply by drinking water. We meet a man named Lockhart, a stock market trader. One day, he's standing in his office, staring out the window, when his colleagues walk in to wish him a happy new year. Everyone begins celebrating, but soon his secretary enters and informs him that he's needed in an urgent board meeting. During the meeting, Lockhart discovers that he must travel to a strange place, a hospital that's been operating for over 250 years, where no medications are used, only water. Lockhart's first question is obvious: why is he being sent there? He's told that the company's CEO, Mr. Pembroke, is currently receiving treatment at that very hospital. He had gone on vacation, but recently the company received a letter from him saying he's quitting his position and will never return. Lockhart is ordered to go there and bring him back. When he refuses, his superiors threaten him, saying that if he doesn't go, they'll not only fire him but also file false charges against him. The next day, Lockhart flies to Switzerland. A driver from the hospital arrives to pick him up. The hospital is located far from the city in an isolated area with no cell signal or mobile network. During the drive, the driver tells him something chilling. The hospital was once a royal palace. The king who lived there had married his own sister to preserve his bloodline. When the villagers discovered this forbidden union, they burned down the entire palace, and the king's sister was killed in the flames. Lockhart is stunned by the story. As they continue their journey, a strange boy suddenly throws a balloon at their car. Finally, they arrive at the hospital. Lockhart walks inside and asks about Mr. Pembroke. The receptionist informs him that visiting hours are over and he'll need to return tomorrow. Lockhart insists and says, "I want to speak with your manager. Tell him I've traveled all the way from New York." After a brief wait, she arranges the meeting. Soon, we see Lockhart inside the manager's office. As he looks around, he notices several unsettling photographs hanging on the walls. Something about them feels deeply wrong. The manager notices his expression and says, "Yes, it's strange, isn't it? People travel from all over the world just to be treated here with nothing but water." Lockhart replies, "I'm not here for treatment. I'm here to take Mr. Pembroke back." But the manager firmly refuses to release him. Frustrated, Lockhart steps outside to call his superiors, only to discover there's no network signal anywhere. While standing outside, a ball suddenly rolls near his feet, thrown by an elderly man nearby. As he picks it up, his eyes catch sight of a small, peculiar-looking cave in the distance. He stares at it for a moment, feeling curious, but then brushes it off and walks toward the station. On his way, he notices a teenage girl standing on the hospital wall, silently watching him. The sight makes him uneasy, and he quickly tells the driver to speed up. Suddenly, a deer leaps in front of the car, and the vehicle swerves off the road, crashing into a ditch. The scene fades, and we see Lockhart lying injured inside the same hospital. When he wakes up, he says, "I've never slept this well before." A man named Volmer, who appears to be in charge, tells him, "That's because you've been asleep for 3 days." Startled, Lockhart checks his leg and realizes it's fractured. He asks to make a phone call, but Volmer calmly replies, "I've already informed your office. You just need to drink plenty of water, it will help you recover faster." While drinking water, Lockhart looks out the window and notices the same cave he saw earlier, but now it's being sealed off. As he keeps watching, he sees something strange moving in the water, tiny worm-like creatures swimming around. He tries to ignore it and decides to explore the hospital instead. As he walks around, he notices something unusual. Everyone seems extremely happy. Men and women are bathing together, laughing and enjoying themselves as if this were a vacation resort, not a hospital. Curious, Lockhart ventures deeper inside. Suddenly, he spots a deer, the same one that had caused his crash. He follows it through lush, beautiful gardens that look almost unreal, like paradise itself. Finally, he sees Mr. Pembroke sitting nearby. Lockhart approaches him and says, "I've come to take you back." But Mr. Pembroke responds, "Can't you see? I'm sick." Lockhart finds this odd because Mr. Pembroke looks perfectly healthy. He replies, "You don't look ill at all." Later, Lockhart accompanies him to the swimming area where people are calmly floating and relaxing in the water. After much convincing, Mr. Pembroke finally agrees to leave with him. Lockhart goes to the receptionist and asks her to arrange a car. She replies politely, "I'll do my best to make the arrangements." When Lockhart steps outside, he meets a woman named Victoria. She shows him an old photograph and says, "Look at that church over there. Years ago, a priest was hanged there for standing against the king." Lockhart asks in surprise, "You mean the same king who wanted to marry his own sister?" Hearing this, Victoria is stunned and says, "Oh, that's quite interesting." After she leaves, Lockhart keeps staring at the old church. As he walks closer, he meets a young girl named Hannah. Lockhart asks, "Are you here for treatment, too?" Hannah shakes her head and says, "Mr. Vollmer says I'm a special case. He takes care of my treatment himself." She then looks at Lockhart's injured leg and asks, "What happened?" Lockhart replies, "It's almost healed. I'll be going home soon." Hannah gives him a strange look and says softly, "No one ever leaves this place, not unless they want you to." Her words leave Lockhart unsettled. He walks away and heads to Mr. Pembroke's room, but finds it completely empty. Shocked, he rushes to the dining hall and confronts Vollmer, demanding to know about Mr. Pembroke. Vollmer calmly replies, "Mr. Pembroke wasn't feeling well, so we've moved him to the emergency ward." But Lockhart can tell he's lying. Angry, he starts shouting at Vollmer. Vollmer looks at him coldly and says, "You're the one who isn't well." The next moment, Lockhart feels dizzy and suddenly collapses to the floor, unconscious. When Lockhart opens his eyes, he finds Vollmer treating him. As he looks around, he notices a photograph of Hannah on Vollmer's desk. Curious, he asks about it. Vollmer smiles and says, "She's my special case. Hannah has been under my care since she was 11. She went through terrible trauma back then. She's like a daughter to me." A few moments later, Vollmer recommends a special treatment for Lockhart and steps outside to make arrangements. While he's gone, Lockhart sneaks into his office and secretly takes Mr. Pembroke's file. When Vollmer returns, Lockhart questions him about a mysterious locket that once belonged to the king. Vollmer replies, "We found it during the renovation. It said that the king was the one who first discovered the healing power of this water." Lockhart then asks, "You mean the same king who married his own sister?" Vollmer stays silent, his expression turning cold. The next moment, Lockhart is restrained and placed inside a large water tank for treatment. A doctor stands nearby, observing him carefully. But when a nurse walks in, the doctor gets distracted, and beneath the water, Lockhart sees strange eel-like creatures swimming toward him from all directions. Lockhart starts shouting for help, but the doctor can't hear him. The strange creatures swim closer, and within moments, Lockhart loses consciousness. Luckily, the doctor pulls him out just in time and saves his life. When Lockhart wakes up, he gasps for breath and says, "There was something down there, something very strange." The doctor looks into the tank but finds nothing. He tells Lockhart, "Maybe you were just imagining it." Later, back in his room, Lockhart opens Mr. Pembroke's stolen file. Inside, he finds several X-rays, but they're not normal. They show human teeth twisted and extracted in disturbing ways, and even images of snakes mixed into the patterns. It all looks horrifying. Just then, Lockhart hears faint noises outside his window. Curious, he looks out and freezes. The hospital guard is dragging a dead body toward a dark cave in the distance. After witnessing that, Lockhart is completely confused. He can't understand what's really happening in this place. The next day, he steps outside and meets Victoria. She tells him, "You were right, but the reason the palace was burned down wasn't because of the king's sister. It was because of the experiments he was conducting on the village girls." Lockhart replies, "Those weren't experiments, he was trying to find a cure." The scene then shifts to Hannah. Lockhart approaches her and says, "Can you take me to the city?" Hannah hesitates, but Lockhart offers her a small gift. She agrees and takes him on her bicycle through the countryside. They finally reach a small town where Lockhart walks into a bar and orders a beer. The two sit together, sipping their drinks and talking, finally away from the strange world of the hospital. As they sit together, Hannah tells Lockhart, "Mr. Vollmer always says that when I finally get better, my father will come to take me home." She explains that Vollmer often gives her a strange liquid to drink, the same one everyone in the hospital drinks every day. After talking for a while, Lockhart says, "Wait here, I'll be right back." He heads to a nearby clinic, but it turns out to be an animal hospital. Inside, he meets a local veterinarian and shows him Mr. Pembroke's file. Pointing at the X-rays, Lockhart asks, "Can you tell me how these teeth got so damaged?" The vet examines them carefully and replies, "This looks like severe dehydration." Lockhart frowns. "But that can't be right, in that hospital, they make everyone drink tons of water." The vet hesitates, suddenly nervous, and refuses to say more. Lockhart presses him again. Could this have anything to do with King Vollmer's old experiments? The king's wife was sick, too, wasn't she? The vet looks uneasy and mutters, "She wasn't sick, she just couldn't have children." The doctor then takes Lockhart to the back of the clinic where a sick animal lies on the table. He makes a small cut on its back, and to Lockhart's horror, tiny eel-like creatures crawl out from under its skin. This animal drank the water from that hospital, the doctor explains. Lockhart is shocked and speechless. Everything he's seen now starts to make terrifying sense. Meanwhile, back at the cafe, Hannah begins dancing to the music, drawing everyone's attention. A few men surround her and start teasing her. Just then, Lockhart rushes in. He's in a hurry and heads straight to a phone booth. He calls his company, but what he hears leaves him stunned. His boss has no idea about his accident or any updates from the hospital. That means Vollmer had lied to him all along. Furious, Lockhart storms back to Hannah and demands, "Why did you say no one ever leaves that place? Tell me the truth." Before she can answer, some of the men at the cafe pick a fight with him. A scuffle breaks out, but before things get worse, Vollmer suddenly appears. Calm and composed, he stops the fight and takes Hannah and Lockhart back with him. That night, Lockhart has a terrible nightmare and wakes up in a panic. As he looks out the window, he sees the same guard again, dragging another body toward the cave. Now, Lockhart is certain something dark and horrifying is happening in this place. Suddenly, he feels a sharp pain in his tooth. He touches it gently, and to his shock, the tooth comes loose and falls out. Panicked and confused, he takes it with him and goes to the reception area. When the nurse steps away for a moment, Lockhart seizes the chance to search through the files to find out which ward Mr. Pembroke is in. Following the clues, he sneaks through the dimly lit halls until he discovers a hidden room. Inside, he finds Victoria, weak, pale, and dying. As he tries to help her, she grabs his hand tightly and whispers, "The king's wife wasn't sick, she was murdered. They cut open her stomach, took out her baby, and threw it into the water, but the baby lived." Before she can say more, Lockhart hears footsteps approaching. He quickly hides inside another room, and there, at last, he finds Mr. Pembroke. But Mr. Pembroke was no longer in his senses. He had been kept inside a glass tube like an experiment. Before Lockhart could do anything, Vollmer appears and catches him. Thinking quickly, Lockhart lies and says, "My tooth was hurting, so I came looking for help." Vollmer nods calmly and takes him to a room, saying they'll fix his tooth. But once inside, the staff forcibly drill into his tooth, ignoring his screams of pain. Meanwhile, the hospital driver arrives outside with another new patient. As he steps out of the car, Lockhart suddenly jumps in and orders, "Take me to the city, now." The driver hesitates but drives off. Lockhart rushes straight to the police station and tells the officer everything, about the hospital, the bodies, and the strange experiments. The officer listens quietly and says, "All right, stay here, I'll look into it." But soon, Lockhart realizes the truth, the officer is working with Vollmer. Moments later, he's forced back to the hospital against his will. Time passes, and Lockhart slowly begins to lose hope. He starts to feel weaker every day and begins believing that maybe he's sick, too, that something inside him is changing because of the water they make him drink. But whatever it was, Lockhart's treatment continued as usual. One day, he sits quietly in his room, writing something in his notebook when a thought strikes him, "I have to expose the truth about this place." Determined, he smashes a glass and uses a shard to cut open the bandage on his leg, only to discover a horrifying truth: his leg was never broken. It had been a lie all along. That night, he sneaks out and follows the guard who always carries bodies into the cave. Inside, he discovers a massive underground chamber, far larger than he ever imagined. Strange experiments are being conducted there, and dozens of glass tanks line the walls. Inside them float small dead infants, preserved in liquid. As he moves deeper, he finds an old photograph, the image of King Vollmer's wife, who was also his sister. But Lockhart freezes. The woman in the picture looks exactly like Hannah. Could it be possible that Hannah is connected to her somehow? He keeps moving and finally stumbles upon something even more horrifying: the dead body of Victoria. Her skin is pale and completely dry, as if all the blood had been drained from her body. Just then, the guard enters. He lifts Victoria's lifeless body and throws it into the water. Within seconds, a swarm of eels gathers and devours the corpse completely. But suddenly, the guard spots Lockhart hiding in the shadows. A fierce fight breaks out between them, a desperate struggle for survival. In the end, Lockhart manages to kill the guard. Exhausted and shaken, he tries to catch his breath. Meanwhile, Hannah is swimming peacefully in the pool when something strange happens. She suddenly gets her period. The clear water turns a deep red, spreading all around her. Within moments, dozens of eels appear, circling her, but instead of attacking, they move protectively around her, as if guarding her. Frightened, Hannah rushes out of the pool and runs straight into the dining hall. Seeing her in this state, Volmer quietly offers her a towel, his face calm but unsettling. Moments later, Lockhart bursts in, covered in sweat and dirt, and shouts, "The water you're drinking, it's not curing you. It's made from the eels. You're not sick, this water is making you sick." But friends, instead of believing him, the patients suddenly turn against Lockhart and attack him. When he opens his eyes again, he finds himself strapped to a table inside a dark room. Volmer is standing beside him, calmly inserting a tube into his mouth. Through that tube, he begins to release the eels directly into Lockhart's stomach. While Lockhart screams in pain, Volmer admits that everything he said was true. He says, "Yes, I am continuing King Volmer's experiment. The only difference is that he forced people into it, while I make them believe they are sick. They come here on their own, begging for treatment." He further explains that he only chooses wealthy and lonely people for his experiments. Volmer then talks about the mysterious eels, how they can survive only a year or two in normal water, but in this special water, they live for 250 to 300 years. "We extract that same life from the water and put it into human bodies," Volmer says with pride. "After some time, we drain it out again, fresh, purified, and full of life. After extracting the pure essence, they throw away the dried human bodies, completely drained of life. That same liquid is then bottled and labeled as purified water. The most shocking truth is that drinking this water can actually extend a person's lifespan." The story now moves forward. We see Volmer standing with Hannah, telling her, the time has finally come. But what time is he talking about? The scene cuts to Lockhart sitting quietly. Hannah approaches him and asks, "You didn't leave? Why?" Lockhart smiles faintly and says, "Why would anyone leave this place once they come here?" Hearing this, Hannah gets angry. "You promised you'd take me away from here, but you're just like the others," she says, her voice filled with hurt and disbelief. Later that night, Volmer hosts a grand party inside the castle. Under dim candlelight and haunting music, he takes Hannah's hand and begins to dance with her as everyone watches in silence. After this, Volmer takes Hannah deep into the cave where an old, dusty bed lies. He says in a calm but unsettling tone, "Lie down here, this is where your beginning took place." And yes, right there, he marries Hannah. Meanwhile, Lockhart suddenly remembers what Victoria had said, the Queen's child was still alive. He rushes into a nearby room and finds an old, faded painting. In it, a man with his face covered stands beside a little girl. As he breaks open the frame completely, he's shocked to realize that little girl is none other than Hannah. Now everything becomes clear to him, who Volmer really is, and who Hannah truly was. Back in the cave, Volmer starts forcing himself on Hannah when Lockhart bursts in. Furious, he splashes fuel all around and yells, "I know the truth now, Hannah is your daughter. How could you even think of doing this to her?" Here, the entire mystery finally unfolds. Volmer tears off the artificial skin from his face, revealing that he is actually King Volmer himself. When the castle burned down years ago, the king had escaped, but his sister-wife died. However, her child survived, that child was Hannah. For over 250 years, Volmer had kept her alive using the life-sustaining properties of the eel's water, the same water that killed countless others. He wanted to be with Hannah to create a pureblood heir, continuing his cursed lineage. A violent fight breaks out between Lockhart and Volmer. In the chaos, Lockhart drops the lighter, and in an instant, the entire place bursts into flames, burning everything in sight. Taking advantage of the chaos, Lockhart rushes to save Hannah. But just then, the king, Volmer, attacks him from behind and drags him toward the pool filled with eel-infested water. It seems like Lockhart's end is near, but suddenly Hannah calls out softly, "Father." Hearing her voice, Volmer turns around, and in that very moment, Hannah strikes him hard on the head. His skull splits open, and he falls straight into the tank. Within seconds, the eels surround him and devour him completely. After that, Hannah and Lockhart escape from the burning facility. Behind them, the same horrifying scene from 250 years ago unfolds once again, flames rising, screams echoing, and the entire place collapsing into ashes. They both ride away on a bicycle, finally free. But on their way down the mountain, they collide with a car. It's Lockhart's company team, who had come to pick him and Mr. Pembroke up. Unfortunately, Pembroke is already dead. The company men tell Lockhart to return with them to take responsibility for the financial losses caused by his actions, the same manipulation that once made him a victim. But Lockhart refuses. Instead, he takes Hannah with him and speeds away, leaving his past and the cursed place behind. As they ride off into the mist, a faint smile appears on Lockhart's face, a smile of peace, freedom, and survival. And with that, the story comes to an end.